Hey guys, it's Eric in the alley again. Today's a fun day for me. I'm all done working on Ronnie's Cadillac, put in a weird power steering hose. So it was uh, didn't want to do like put not a factory part, but I didn't want to piece it or make a line for it. So we ordered lines off of Rock Auto. Kind of difficult to get in for power steering lines, but at any rate. Well, got that done. Now today, I just took out a couple scopes. I got a couple things. I'm always trying to think ahead of what I'm going to do when I'm done. I get a little bit of me time because I'm not really, on the clock with any of this. I come up to walk up to the garage as I please. I live a couple houses down. My back hurts. I, sit down for a while or play around with, make some test leads or something, so whenever I'm done with something, I like, doing something educational, learning something, using the new tool that I had. And in this case, I never thought I'd get excited about 88. That's the year I graduated high school. And I didn't even know we really had computers in the cars then. And, I was working in a dealership shortly after. And it was just strictly Dodges. We had, Dodge, breakout boxes. I mean, that's what we actually called the diagnostic tool. I mean, we called it a breakout box. Now it's something different, and we had a Sun machine in each bay. The only thing we used the scope for was finding a miss. Which is one of the things, some of them Sun scopes, and you actually hear Scanner Dan or some of his videos are done on them. They were really good for finding that. Like, he's able to tell you then, like, I wish I knew then what I knew now or seen his videos. And anyway, because it's, that find a dead miss. I mean, now you'd know where to look at the plug wire, you'd know where to look at the plug, you'd know if it's shooting outside of the block, you'd know all that stuff. I mean, we used them to find a dead miss. That was it, and they all had coils in, so you're going around all 8 and you're just looking for one miss, and then you had a sync for the RPM that went around number 1, so it was, had it in a nice parade. I like the parade pattern having all 8. So that's one of the things I wanted to do today. One of the plan anyway is these snap-on accessories for the Modus. These are for the coil-on plugs. Now we should be able to get all 8 ignition patterns on one of these, so it would have almost like a parade format on 8 scope, just going through one channel. And then of course we could set a sync if we need to identify a cylinder. But today what I'm doing, there's nothing wrong with the car. I mean, we could call it a drivability complaint. Ronnie said it ran like crap. When he took it out, it doesn't move much. It sits under the carport. It got a lot of moss on it. And when I was putting the chain on his PT Cruiser, he started driving this to go to the store. And, shortly after, I mean, he went through 2 quarts of power steering fluid just going down the end of the block to the pizza place. So, yeah, it just sits around on gravel. I'm going to put a little fluid film on the lines. It still has, because sitting on gravel, that's not good for cars. I mean, even though it's under a carport, you still have all that moisture coming from the earth. But being this is an 88 and it has an ALDL, the Modus actually had the ALDL adapter to go to it. So I'm going to see what kind of live data I could get. I've never did an OBD1 with this Modus. That's going to be pretty fun. I mean, as old as this thing is, it's still newer in the car, man. But we're going to talk to it with that, see what, whenever it came in, the service engine soon light was on. I did have the battery disconnected, but I also did replace the oxygen sensor while I was under there, because to get this power steering line, you had to drop the whole exhaust, and on top of the manifolds, lo and behold, there's the O2 sensor, and it looks like a real doozy to get to. It's an original 1988, so I put a Bosch Premium in it, and I back probed it while I'm under there, so I still got a lead coming out. And I'm back here by my car. I have it going the whole way under the car to the O2 sensor, so it'll be easy to pull out. I put it in before I put the pipe up. So, I mean, you could get them off the computer, but I mean, I was there. I'd rather get it right off the sensor. off the computer pen, you'd be getting testing the wire also. But I'm just interested in seeing how an aftermarket O2 sensor swings. I've checked out quite a few before, but you know, every car is different. You know, it seems to start a lot better. I don't know. I mean, he might have lucked out in the O2 sensor. We changed out of convenience. Might have been why the light was on, but we're going to see if it got any OBD1 codes in it. Link it up. There's a couple quick tests I got. I mean, there's a lot of things I planned out in my head. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to all of them, but what I did do is I brought up the laptop. I'm going to try out the Hantek again. I dissed this scope myself for a long time. I mean, I thought I made a mistake getting it as my first scope. Well, actually, I got the U scope first, and I figured it could only get better from there. But I would rather had a 2-channel U scope, I thought, you know. But running this on its own software, it's been getting pretty decent, you know, waveforms out of it. But running on 8 scope, it seemed that the scales weren't right for it. It's not a very powerful scope, but it is as the first scope. Or as a budget scope, there are benefits to having more than 1 or 2 channels. So if you're looking for scopes, I mean, this is the kind of videos that I'm trying to make that, like, I would have liked to see before I made some purchases, because a lot of times we're watching videos, these guys are on the clock. I mean, they're showing you, they're sharing with us, which is, I mean, awesome. It's great. I mean, that's the best thing about the internet, I think, is, you know, what we could learn from things like that. People taking the time to do it while they're, you know, actually doing their livelihood. They're out there getting paid, but they don't have time to just, you know, hey, let's check a known good. Let's compare this scope with that scope. And you could watch videos with somebody using one scope a lot, and then, but whenever you compare it to another one, you're not sure if that's the way you want to go, or if you want to pull the trigger on this one or that one. But, you know, sometimes side by side's the best way to go. So I'm going to try to use that on the laptop with its native software, because it's kind of easy the way I got the cart. And then I just set up a portable table with the laptop on it, so I could just move the same lead from scope to scope. Because I have that out, I have the U-scope charging, got the Modus, of course, and the 8-scope. And there's a lot of things I'd like to go over and share with you, especially if you're new to this or just getting into it, don't know which way to go. I mean, or even if you're just learning it for your information, there's a lot of things that I thought I knew a lot about from watching YouTube videos, Scanner In or Premium. I was Mechanic Mindset Premium. You know, I took them all, and you think you know what you're, you know, talking about, and you kind of do, but it's the point of getting to where, you know, acquiring the signal, making sure you could get the signal, like that your scope's capable of getting it, treating the scope right, like using attenuators, you know, keeping your equipment up to date, making leads when you need new leads, buy leads. I mean, it's that part that just watching videos can't get you. So if these are all beginner scopes, so, you know, my recommendation to anybody would be get one. They're all doing the exact same thing. So even though the platform might be different when you move on, you're going to know how to use any scope. It's just the buttons are going to be in a different place. And, you know, you find the one you like and you go with it. But all right, I'm going to turn the key on and get the Modus linked with the caddy, and we'll see what it says. It's dead ice cold. It's out all night. So it'd be kind of neat to see if we could get live data out of OBD1 and, you know, watch it warm up, see if it, you know, goes into open loop, closed loop, fine. I mean, you know, just see what we could see on it. It's the first time for me, and it's a, you know, lazy Saturday, and this is kind of my fishing now. All right, guys, I'm going to put you up on a tripod and shut the light off so we could see us a little bit better, but I have it connected. Yes. Display codes. And the fan come on. No communication, but the fan's on. Okay, no codes present. It's actually good. The fan's still on though. Okay, but I'm going to let it warm up. I'm going to turn the fan on, turn the light off, and get you set up on the tripod. Then we can watch this warm up, watch the temperature go up, watch it go in a closed loop. Okay, now we get the whole bed list. Sorry, this engine's a little bit loud, but in closed loop. Okay, let's go to view. We'll put on the 6-gap. Alright, let me shut the light off and get you on the tripod. The 2 millivolts are going a little bit on the rich side. Still an open loop. Did hear a try closed once. The O2 sensor starting to swing. Now we'll see if we go into closed loop here soon. Could rev it up, but you know, let's just let it warm up naturally. See more and more activity. The O2 went to rich, and everyone in the closed loop. Looks like the exhaust, the O2 sensor's starting to move, but let's see if we could get on him. That's the millivolts there. That's what we want to watch, because that's what we're going to watch on oscilloscope. We're hitting 890 on the rich. So that's pretty good in 0.22 on the low, down to 22 millivolts anyway, so we're that would be in the acceptable range. We'll see if we could drive it richer, make sure it's not the sensor. We changed the time on it. Now we should be warmed up pretty good. This one seems to be overscaling. It is switching from rich to lean. Here's a map sensor. We could see how it responds to some throttle. We only hit 1.2, 1.7. Let me wide open throttle it again. I actually need my stool. We're going down under the snap. I wonder why we have that big D-cell there. Well, that map sensor doesn't seem very responsive. I have to check that out, look into that. Okay, now what I want to watch is this, what a snap throttle. Hey, she went up to 987 millivolts. So that's pretty good. That's almost a whole volt. Alright guys, let me shut this off. Alright guys, it's pretty cool how it read the OBD1 codes and we got some live data. I like seeing the O2 sensor swinging like that. I like seeing it going in closed loop. This is a non-heated O2 sensor, so it's just a 2-wire sensor, so it does take a while. You could rev it up a little bit, hold it up to 2 grand, but we just let it warm up. The one thing I didn't like that we seen was how that map sensor, the voltage really wasn't responding to the throttle. But no, that's what I'm going to show you. Is a nice thing, and it's fun to just play around because we're not getting the code for the map sensor. I mean, the engine seems to be running all right, but you know, it's not known good. It's known, you know, running. But what's real nice about the Modus, which I'm glad I kind of hooked up in there so I could use it for the two things, for the scope and for the live data and just the code reading of the OBD1. It's good to know I have that connector. So now I question the map sensor. So what's nice about the Snap-on software is even though we're not looking for a code, we're not looking for anything like that, what I'm going to do is just do a functional test of the map sensor with the lab scope. And that's where, I mean, if you could pick up one of these old ones, they're old, but they're still very informative. There's actually automotive electricity classes in here. There's courses on it. I mean, it'll teach you the basics. It takes a lot of the guessing out, and sometimes you don't get to see this side of the screen like it's Danner will tell you a lot, and I mean the guys will tell you, you know, I'm hooked up on this, and the scope told me that to do this, you know, but it is, until I looked at one, I didn't realize they were that in depth. For, I mean, the software only goes up to 2014, so it hasn't been updated, but it still has very usable software in it. And it made me, you know, I never really considered Snap-on for one of the better scope. Like, you know, if I was going to get a brand new scope, like a high-end one, you know, I mean, I know Snap-ons are good, but, you know, I just don't like dealing with the tool trucks. I don't like, you know, any of that. So, you know, if I did, I was, you know, going, like, you know, launched, hopped on anybody. If Martin makes a 4-channel, I mean, that's going to be all I need. So, you know, I don't need any more than that. So whatever next level scope I get, you know, but now Snap-on's in the shuffle. But let me flip the camera and I'll show you like the test. Now, we just questioned the map sensor. So we could go to the guided component test. And it would be under fuel injection and a map sensor. You could check all this and it'll preload the scope for you. Like if you want the information, you get 4 boxes that you can move around. And it's going to tell you the map's a 3-wire sensor that measures intake manifold pressure, indicating engine load. As vacuum increases, sensor signal voltage decreases. Key on, engine off, map measures atmospheric barometric pressure, which indicates air density. Fuel injected vehicles incorporate baro function in the map sensor by taking baro readings with key on, engine off, and wide open throttle. So that's a pretty good, you know, description of it, and that would be, you know, generally any map sensor. But it gets, when you go over to the connector harness, this is, you know, strictly for this vehicle. Looking from the harness side, back probing, you got A, B, and C. You got A is PCM negative, B is map signal, and C is PCM, the 5-volt. Now, if you go to the next square, the location, it's going to tell you best test location at the map connector 3-pin component location on a bracket attached to the rear valve cover. That's in the back there. The last one is the tech note. Inspect map sensor vacuum line. Vacuum line failure is common. I took that off already and I blew through that because I know they do go. Chryslers especially, I mean, well, anything that got fitting like this, right in the middle, they usually develop a crack from the engine vibration and you suck some air. But this one, it's not huffing. It's holding vacuum. So you just want to take that out of the equation before you do any tests. Now, if we go the whole way out of here, well, back to the guided test. That was the component information. Now we're going to hit the test. The DC voltage test. That's what we didn't see moving very much at all. Now the out of range and no signal, we weren't getting any code for that. That would be where you'd want to go for that. And what happens is it sets the scope up for you. It sets your, and now, I mean, I'm sure you've heard on other videos that this is just a general. It's going to get a signal on the screen if you follow these directions. It might not be what you want to look at, but you're going to get a signal and then you could adjust it. Where it's telling you to test, it's connect the yellow lead to the map signal, the black to a known good ground. But there's more information here. So if you hit the yes, the box will let you scroll. Key on, engine off. Voltage should be from 4.5 to 5 volts at sea level. Okay, then we have the elevation in there. So we know we're looking for an elevation. I'm not sure what we are here in Pennsylvania. I could watch a Scanner Danner video. It's his brother's shop's about maybe 20 miles from here. key on engine at idle. Voltage should be from about, or engine running at idle, it should be from 0.5 to 1.5. Well, that's where we were. All right, I mean, but on a lot of modern cars, as you increase the RPM and snap, it goes with it. It's dynamic. Maybe it's just using this for the, the basic parametric, but we came this far. I'm going to hook it up, and it's very easy to get to, and this will be the first time I really actually used the guided test function of this. But you could see how easy it is. Any of them sensors on there, without even looking at a wiring diagram, which isn't a bad idea to still double check your colors. Without looking at the description and operation on like Chilton or All Data, you're getting a pretty good lesson on it right there, at least basic enough to get you in the right direction, and we know where to stick the pins. That's what we're after, and we want to see a pattern. There's where the map sensor lives. I just got a back probe. I got an angled one in there, like a 45 degree, or 90 actually, going into the middle connector. That'll be the map sensor signal wire. And what I did, the Modus leads are so short, I made extensions for them so I could, get that under the hood and still be way over here. It'll extend any BNC, but it's, good to have nice long ones if you need them like that. But, okay, we're off. I'm going to turn the key on, and it says we should have between 4.5 and 5 at sea level. Okay, and we have 4.487. So 4.5 was our target. That would be close enough to not send a code. I'm not sure about the altitude or what the conversion scale would be, but we could see it's only 0.7 volts for 1,000 feet. It'd be easy to make a scale, but I mean, this is close enough that I wouldn't suspect that now. But now at idle, the voltage should be from about 0.5 volt to 1.5 volt. I believe we're at 1.5. We'll only start it up and we're going to see what it goes to. Okay, running. We're at 0.91, I see. We should be from 0.5 to 1.5. So, alright, that's within our specs there. I do just want to give the engine a little bit of throttle and see what happens on it. Okay guys, that was a little bit quick. I was going to switch the scopes to go to the O2 sensor, but I'm going to set the tripod up just so you can see how the map sensor does react. Alright, it was rolling by just a little bit too fast. You could even actually change that sweep. I'll try 10. Alright guys, that was a pretty good test, pretty quick test. See, something like that didn't look right to me for a second. I wanted to take a look at it, and with this, the way that this just gets you through it without doing a lot of, digging into actual wiring diagrams to see where you're going with it. I'm pretty happy with that. It caught my eye. We checked it out. The Modus guided us along, so that's a good pass. I said I was going to switch to a different scope for that, but I am going to keep the Modus here, and I'm going to check the O2 sensor with a different scope, but I do want to keep this here because I do want to try the HEI ignition module. But I'm going to just switch over there to the table where I got the laptop. Maybe use the H scope and the Hantek on the oxygen sensor signal. See what that looks like. We've seen what it looked like on scan data, so that was pretty cool. It looked pretty good on there. That's usually like the least I'll do. If they're really hard to get to, the back probe, I won't go, you know, back probing it at the PCM if I have the live data and I could see that oxygen sensor swinging rich, lean, it's switching. It's getting up above 8 volts. I mean, it's not going down or, you know, staying down below 2. Well, you know, you could go down into 1 and everything, but as long as it's just swinging, it's not staying there. You want to make sure you don't actually have a lean condition. And whenever I was first running it at idle, it was only going up to like, I think it was almost 8, a little over 8 while it was running. What I was going to do, if I couldn't get almost the 1 volt signal out of it, just under the airbox lid right there, I was going to just put a propane and just see if it spiked up to, you have to watch what you're doing, but I use just like a plumber's hose with the torch on the end, just slide it under there, turn the propane on a little bit, see if the sensor goes up to where it should go, because if 8 is its maximum, it's a defective sensor. You want to make sure it's not the sensor. So putting a propane in there just makes the engine super rich. You're going to get the maximum out of the oxygen sensor on the rich side. So we're happy with that, but I still want to try them with the scope, being I already have a back probe, see what the O2 sensor looks like. I'm kind of jumping around, but hey, you know, it's a Saturday and you know, I'm having fun doing this. So, you know, that's, like I said, that's the first time I actually went through a guided test that quick. I've set up the scope before and used the scope, but that's the first time I went through the guided tests and, you know, actually used the scope at the end of it. And it told us we have a good map sensor. All right, guys, let me get another scope hooked up and we'll see what the O2 sensor's doing. All right, guys, I set up on the Hantek. First, I have the oxygen sensor lead. It's already back probe, but I broke out a short lead just to do the calibration. You want to make sure you calibrate your scope every time you use it. They're all a little bit different how you do it, but on the Hantek, you get a good selection of sensors. Ignition, the sensors, bus, engine, startup and charge. Now, there's no actual oxygen sensors in here, no O2 sensors, but there is lambda sensors. Speed sensor, zirconia pre and post cat. That's pre-cat. That's what we'll go with. We're going to just see what it looks like. No, that's actually has 2 on at once. We just want the zirconia O2. But before I do that, you go to the menu and under utility, you want to go to calibration. Then 0 calibration, and you said okay. Okay, so we should be calibrated, but what happens is all 8 channels come on. And it's one of the little quirks about it. We only want the 1 channel though. I believe you could save your settings, but usually what I'll do is just go down, shut them all off, except the one you want. They're all a little bit different in the way you set them up and the way you handle them, but it's all just the buttons. It's where the buttons are. Because all we're doing is we're measuring voltage and time over and over again. Even if we have a sensor that translates it to, like, say, pressure or anything, flow or amperage, we're tricking the voltage. We're tricking the scope, or we're using a sensor that the scope is using its voltage to give us a signal. So no matter what scope you're using, they're all going to be the same of what you're seeing. It's just the quality of the image, how you set it up, where the buttons are, but you're all looking for the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to plug in the lead that goes to the oxygen sensor and run it. Okay guys, it takes a while to get a signal on the screen. There's probably a minute delay before you start seeing the signal on the 5-second sweep. So, you know, it's definitely getting the signal. Getting up to a volt, and we're getting down almost 100 millivolts. So I'm going to give her a little gas, a little bit of throttle, snap it, see how fast it keeps up with it. You see we're acquiring the signal pretty slow, and then it's going to start overwriting, but we lose a lot of it right there. I'll wait till it starts overwriting, and then I'll snap the throttle. Okay, there we go. We're getting a pattern. It's not that big, but we're going to see what happens whenever I snap it, if it's how quick it responds. We're actually off the screen again. Now let me move it in, I'll move it down to a second. And still you have this delay. We're going faster now. It should start getting the signal quicker with like here's 10 millisecond time base. See how quick it acquires the signal. Now if we go up to this would be back up to, this is just a 2-second sweep here. Or 2 seconds per division, I'm sorry. That one came up pretty fast. Now this is 5 seconds. This would be more usable if you could see it in real time, like. That looks more like the scan data that we were getting. Now we'll see how it responds. Alright guys, let me shut this off and then we're going to try it. I'm going to just move the lead over to the 8-scope. Alright guys, same thing. I got the alligator clamps connected to each other. On 8-scope, you just go to settings and calibration. 0 level. Continue. Alright, now we're ready to plug in the O2 sensor lead and see how that looks on 8-scope. Okay guys, once again, sorry about the noise, but we could see on 8-scope right away, and we're on even a longer time, we're on the 3-second of division, but we could see how quick it's rolling across the screen. And the resolution you could turn way up. I mean, I keep it for O2 sensors because you do get these artifacts throughout it. A little bit of noise, and the higher you go, the more, like look, it'll go the whole way up to 600. You have to stop it before you change it. 600 kilosamples a second. Hit record. See how much sharper it is. but we will see more artifacts like this popping up, but it's still a very, very good signal. It's getting a lot of detail. What I'm going to do is stop that. Start it again. Then I'm going to do a couple snaps on it, see where it goes, and see if we could take up a quick measurement, see what was right, the Modus or the Hantek. The Hantek, we were going over a volt, and it doesn't look like we're close here. But we're going to see under a ref. Okay guys, now that we got that waveform, I just want to show you a couple things I personally like about Oscilloscope. It's just how customizable it is. Like, we have this waveform, this is definitely enough. Hold on, let me shut this exhaust fan. Alright, that's a little bit better. This is a perfectly usable waveform, and this is, I mean, more than you could hope to get with some scopes. And it's so, I had the sample rate up very high, and we got a very good waveform. But if you don't like the glare, if I wanted to change that so it's easier to see on the camera, or if you just, you know, have a different color preference, everything's customizable. You could go to the screen, you could change it to white, and then I'll make channel 1 blue so it stands out. What I always like doing too is changing the thickness of the line to 2 dp at least, and then look at the difference it makes even with the glare. Still getting a little glare on there, I can see, but you know, it's a little bit better. In the green, it seems to get a little bit more glare. And what we could do to clean this up is always, as long as it doesn't affect the amplitude, like you could see, you could actually measure this first, but if you want to get a little more precise measurement, you could clean this up even more. Like this bit of static here, where would you put it? You'd basically just go for the middle. We're like 857 there. But what you could do is go to that channel and go to the filter. Now I kept the cursor here so we know if we lose amplitude, it's going to drop down and look like one of these. On some voltages it does. I'm not sure the exact reason, but if I want to clean it up, that's my rule. If it drops in amplitude, it's not going to do you no good, because you're sacrificing like a clean waveform for, you know, actual measurement, because your cursors aren't going to be where the signal actually was. But if you go to a low pass filter, and you could see how that cleans it up. Now the default's 1000. Take it down to 33 hertz. Somebody told me this in one of the comments, man. It was one of the greatest things I ever learned about a scope. Now, I mean, look how clean that is. Now you could do a little more precise measurements and see, we went for right in the middle. So on the fly, hey, that would have been good enough with the noise in there. But you really do get a nice clean waveform. I mean, you could clean it up with the filters. And here was one thing. It's like I say, today's, you know, day I do things that I was curious about. On one of the vehicles, I can't even remember which one it was, the front O2, I was fluttering the gas to try to drive it rich. And I know that's a downstream O2 trick, where you're trying to get so much gas or so much unburnt fuel, like, you know, into the cat, that you're driving the rear O2, the downstream O2. You're trying to make it rich, and then seeing how long it takes for that to fall off in the lean, and then you're judging how good the health of your catalytic converter is. Now, if you did that to an upstream, does it matter, or is that running just off of your throttle? So I figured that I'd flutter it right here. You might have heard that on recording, but this is where I fluttered it. I was actually letting go of the cable, so if it was following it like a throttle position sensor, it should have went with the throttle like this. But instead it did. You can drive an upstream rich by fluttering it. That answered a question that I had, I don't know, a month ago, something like that. But whenever I had the opportunity, that's when I'm going to take it. Whenever I'm in no hurry, and this is where I do my best learning, because I'm not in a hurry. If I'm trying to fix a car, you know, that's when you're kind of in a hurry and you don't worry about cleaning up the waveforms. But you know, if you're just enjoying yourself, you may as well take advantage of all the other benefits of this scope, because there's a lot of them I haven't even scratched the surface of yet. It's a great software. All right, next. Oh, it's almost like a kid in a candy shop, but turns into a bull in a china shop. But next signal, I do want to try out that snap-on coilover, or the HEI adapter. I've never looked at the HEI all at once like that. You know, it's an opportunity. I've had that sitting around here for, you know, a while that I've been wanting to try it on. You know, opportunity knocks, scope it. All right, guys, I figure, you know, as I'm doing this, all it takes for me to hook up the U-scope too, in case there is anybody interested in this. I mean, it's a very good scope. It's the one channel, but it's as easy as me putting this adapter in there and then just taking that lead out of the 8 scope and running it on there. I mean, whenever I come to a point where like there's something either excels or lacks, what I could say off the bat is, if you get the U-scope, this is a very accurate one channel scope. I mean, it'll run anything these do on one channel. It's very fast for its size. Now, in the comments, and I've seen a couple videos on YouTube, yeah, and Darren on Mechanic Mindset, I think his is an 01. It's a 2-channel handheld oscilloscope. Now, those are getting more popular, and I've looked into some of them. The one was under $100. I mean, 2 channels, you know, and just a little bit bigger than this. Plus, it's multimeter. You know, it does some other things. So, and that's coming in cheaper than this. But this is a pretty good scope. I mean, I never regret getting this. But as you climb, you'll master this. Not master what you're going to see, not the car, but you're going to master the controls on the scope very fast. It's a different kind of setup, but it's like an old Android with the buttons. You have to remember which buttons to hit, but you're still doing the same thing. You're going to be measuring voltage and time. That's it. You're getting into a platform where you need these and adapting. So if you only have one of these adapters, then you have to order another one. This is one terminal I don't crimp. I don't even know how you do. I should, and get a couple of them anyways, just to make a couple cords, you know. But it's, if that cable went and you only had one, your scope's going to be out of commission till you could order another one. Everything else uses the BNC or the banana jacks. Hey guys, that's the same pattern we were looking at the other 2 scopes. I'll give her a little snap. That'll actually be starting at the top of the screen. That's on a 5-second time base. So down to 2 to make her a little faster. Really looking for some detail on the 1. Okay, it just took that single image. Now let me shut the car off. Okay guys, now that we got the waveform like that, you only have this one screen, so that's why you can put as much time on it as you want. This is a shorter time, this is just a 1 second. So you can get down to meters, and then you hold the meters off button. They're disabled. Enabled. Well, it should give us our min and max there. Oh, they stay on 0.29 and 0.86. So we were pretty much close at idle. What the motor said, the Hantek was a little bit off. It was saying we were getting over a volt even at idle, so slightly off. And you guys see me calibrate it, so you know it's as close as we were going to get, but close enough to call a good or a bad one. Alright guys, I'm back. I went and got gas. After I put some in it, I actually realized that, I mean, that might have been a good opportunity. We kind of were watching it run out of gas, but it would have been kind of neat to watch the ignition while it was running out of gas, getting leaner and leaner until it didn't quite stall, but it was starting to, you know, up and down. But at any rate, I think when I pulled it in, it said it had 8 miles worth in the tank, so I mean, it was pretty low. So got some more in it. I'll do a couple more tests. What I'm going to do now is this is one of the ignition scope leads. It's for the snap-on motors, but it has an RCA jack on it, and it has ground in case you catch a stray spark. It clips on the top of the HEI, the distributor. Goes into the banana jacks and into the motors. Now what I was going to do is see how it works on this. I've never used it on HEI yet, so it ought to be pretty interesting to see it on this, and then I'm going to adapt to it and see what it looks like on H-scope. See, you know, because it's the easiest one to adapt it to. I could adapt it to the Hantek, but I think I'm going to run out a little bit of time today. There's so many more things I wanted to do on this, but that's a good thing. Like whenever you're thinking ahead of time, you just keep adding them up, like what you want to do, and whatever you could get to, it's only going to, you know, towards your basically your education, because you're taking what you learn online, what you learn from seminars, and then you're going and you're actually, you know, just hooking up, getting to know your equipment. It's what it's all about. I mean, practice makes perfect, and if nothing else, this is practice. Alright, I'm going to just go down under the lab scope. They have an ignition scope. See what the parade pattern looks like. Okay, it should have us all set up. Okay, we got 4 of them on there. Okay guys, one thing I did not do is rev it or snap the throttle while I was recording that, so I'm going to give another shot on that. While we're on cylinder, we're just looking at just the firing line there. That's what I'm going to try backing out here and just go under the regular lab scope. We're still in the volts DC. Now channel 3's on. channel 2 away. Okay, channel 3 away. Definitely not as clean. It's on the ignition scope. I could have the settings a little bit different, but what I did last time is I went to the ignition scope like this, went up, and I just went remember, we're going to want to record this very small, like that. Alright, let me stop that. Not this blue up top, that's your buffer. If you just leave that play while you go shut the car off, you could come back and all your data's gone because you didn't stop it. And that's where if you wanted to, like, we could save this in case something happens. That easy. Now we're going to zoom out. So now we could see more individual events, especially on the snap. Zoom back in, see if we could find her. See some of these, especially this one, that looks like, I mean, definitely from zoomed out it looks like a lean misfire, but look how high some of the top C's are going. Let me... Oh, good thing I saved that, huh? There we are, data management. I just seen if it'll let me move it. It will up and down, so we could just see how the tail end under the ref, how lean that's getting. It's going up almost with the firing line. See the lean uptick in the back, that's good there. I've seen a couple, I know they look like they were really, like this one. He's really kicking up lean at the end. That could have very well been under our ref also. And you just move this with your thumb wheel. And these are all different buttons, like the U-scope. It got its own buttons. It's not a touchscreen interface. Here's one of them. We've seen something like that on it before. Alright, I'm going to disconnect this and I'm going to hook up the H-scope just for, out of curiosity, to see what, if it works good on that also. And this, whenever you zoom, you could keep zooming out. Like if a coil wasn't firing, you'd see the spike lower. It just, but you see how small we had to record that to get it to the point. You know, that's where it's, I mean, see, we definitely see them spark lines aren't all exactly like this one right here. Let's see if we could zoom into him somehow. See down low where the sparks start. So that would definitely be after the cylinder. I know we've seen one real bad one. There's a couple that didn't look the greatest, like in here. Probably pretty useful. I mean, if you're getting one of them random misfires that, you know, the way it's running now, I'm not too worried about that, because I mean, he's going to need a tune-up in the near future anyways. But, you know, if you were looking for one of them code setting random misfires, you know, this is what you want to zoom in and try to see. Try to find your problem cylinder that way. But all right, I'm going to switch up and I'll be back. All right, I picked up two of these. They're BNC to RCA, and they just go on the regular BNC to BNC cable, and it's going to let me adapt to that snap-on pickup flag. And being I was going to wrap it up because I had to go get gas. It's getting pretty late, but I'm still enjoying myself. And the Hantek's sitting right there. And if you stuck through this video this long, I mean, I'd hate to just use the H-scope and leaving you wondering what the Hantek would have showed up. All right, guys. Okay, guys, I got her set her up. It's on the HS512. I'm going to just run it. We've got 3 minutes and 12 seconds. We could let it go. I'm going to do a rev while it's doing it because it has such a long recording time. And now I'm going to shut the car off and we'll take a look at that. Alright guys, it's did pretty good. Picked everything up. No, they're coming pretty fast on one channel. That's so I was interested to see in the rev. Now here would be where we started revving it. I think it's just coming too fast for it to pick up. It doesn't look very good. Oh, it's activity. It's on the end of every one. And then whenever you could see the RPMs are slowing down here, when we get back to a normal waveform, well, somewhat normal. Still all over the place. I don't know if that's from the pickup or just the fact, you know, this car's been sitting for years and probably still got the original plugs in it. I like zooming them way up, making them real large on the screen, but I mean, this is more, you know, usable, what you'd be looking at. Alright guys, worked pretty good on that. I mean, it would find if you had like a really weak coil or you know, an intermittent miss, you could find with as much time as you could put on the scope. Under the snap, I think are coming just a little bit too fast to pick up. But I mean, this does have plug wires too, so a secondary would be, if I was actually going to go after this and see what's happening under the rev, I'd, you know, probably put the secondary lead on it too and just pick up a waveform from the coil wire, just one cylinder, one channel. This is 8 cylinders on one channel. I mean, I've done 4 before and it works pretty good, but eight on one channel, I mean, you are asking a lot. But I mean, it's pretty good results. Right, good job for the HS512. Now, see the Hantek back there? That's going to be the last one we're going to run on that. Okay guys, that's what we got right off the bat. We'll put some more time on there. They're all eight cylinders in parade. Doesn't look too bad. Just changing the voltage to zoom in a little bit. Like I say, in the parade pattern, you're looking for one that's really, you know, not doing its thing over and over again. Let's let the trigger up a little bit. That's with a normalizing trigger. Just on normal mode here. It's not bad. I mean, it's... The only thing would be the moving around. It's a little bit harder. So even though this is a touchscreen tablet, you have no control on it. But we'll still see. We'll save data. Channel 1, we'll save that. And I'm going to just call it number 2 for now. So you could definitely get some detail out of it with this. Which might be starting to go down on gas a little bit again, but I mean, just for the purposes of you know, what we're doing, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. Sometimes they surprise you which one you which one you're more impressed with after you play with a couple of them, because then, you know, being as I have a couple, if I was ever going to do this, I mean, I might pick this Hantek over the scope. Well, to acquire the signal, but like I say, moving around and measuring it, I mean, it's doable, but it's not quite as easy. All right, let me give her a rev and see what it does under it. I'll put a little bit more time on there. See, the more time you put on again, the slower it's gonna actually take its samples. I'll give her a snap. Alright guys. Alright, it's magically the next day, and I'm sorry a video was so long, and it's just an old OBD1, so I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'm just getting used to using, you know, the tools that I do have. And I like showing, you know, some of the basic ones, because I was in the same place looking for, you know, a beginner scope, and I was looking at ones that, you know, I wanted to see as much as I can in different situations. So for me, just going around doing something I was going to do anyway, just switching the BNC connector and using a different scope, that's no big deal. I mean, I hope it does help some of you guys out. But it doesn't matter what scope you get, just get one, get out there and get used to it, because it's different than watching videos. You gotta, you know, sometimes them triggers are elusive. Yeah, I mean, you gotta know where to capture the signal. I mean, that's what you gotta start doing on known goods, you know. But that's it. I'm going to keep it short, guys, and thanks a lot for watching. I put the little video on the end on the back. Caddy will be back in fairly shortly, but the motor mounts are pretty bad in it. Ronnie said he heard a clunk whenever he, you know, gets on a little bit, so, you know, it's going to be back in. And there's a couple things I still wanted to do on it. I always overplan what I want to do, and then, you know, things like running out of gas or whatever. But hey, it's all good. It's all good day. But these things are pretty cool. The throttle body injectors, they're obsolete, but there is only 2 injectors, and you could get the current ramps that they're each on their own fuse. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty good pickings right there. But that's what I'm going to do next time on it. I'd like to, any car I get in, like to do things like, you know, the fuel pump current. I mean, anything like that. There's a lot of good tests you could do on a car that still runs. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one. Adios. Darren's going to put it in drive. We're just checking his motor mounts. Just give her a little gas. Yeah. All right. So Ronnie's going to need some engine mounts, but he kind of knew that. He was hearing that thunk when he got on the gas. That's a project for another day.